Hi everybody, Dan here. I want to go over some of the concepts in communicating across cultures. You have a PowerPoint from the publisher that is more academic. This is more for your entertainment, but there are some concepts here that I want to stress. We have to remember, of course, that our own frames of reference are products of our own upbringing, our own culture. They're not always right, and we have to be flexible and open to change. This chart is from the book. If you see on the left, American values that we hold dear are not necessarily reflected in the same way in other parts of the world. For example, number 4, equality. We hold everybody to be equal here, which is great, but in other cultures, people who are older are treated with much more deference than they are in America, a tradition which I'm not totally against. Look at number 8, time. If your manager asks you to be in a meeting tomorrow at 9 o'clock, when would you show? You'd probably show up at 8:50 or 8:45. In Asia or in the Middle East, people may show up well after 9. Not out of disrespect to you, but because they have a different philosophy when it comes to time, a much longer view. So we have to be aware of not only our values and beliefs, but theirs as well when we try to reach out to people in other cultures. One of the ways we reach out is through advertising. I thought you might be amused by some of these unintended misinterpretations that actually cost American companies quite a bit of money. I don't know how many of you remember the Chevy Nova, because it hasn't been around for a while, but I remember the Nova and I remember the ad campaigns. Nova in the Western culture is the term for exploding star. And I remember the ads. There would be a burst of light, and through these beaming rays would drive the Nova as if it were a product of stellar energy. Well, in South America, Latin America, nobody bought the Nova because Nova means in Spanish, no go. Now, you would think somebody might have caught that in America, but they didn't. And it cost quite a bit of money to repackage everything. You're all familiar with the famous Nike Swoop. Well, some of the shoes did not sell in the Middle East, and actually there were riots because the Nike Swoop resembles a sacred Islamic symbol, and it's on the shoe, the lowest part of the body, which is also a no-no. I mean, there was big problems because of that, and Nike had to pull back and repackage. Those of you who play golf may have bought golf balls in 4-packs. These 4-packs were also marketed to Japan because the Japanese are avid golfers, but nobody bought them. Why? The number 4 in Japan is associated with death. I've been told that in Japanese hotels there are no 4th floors, just as in Las Vegas hotels there are no 13th floors. And the companies that manufactured these golf balls had to bring everything back and repackage them. The OK symbol in America stands for everything is going well. And there is an emoji for OK, everything is going well. But the OK symbol in Latin America is interpreted as an obscene gesture. So if you were negotiating with somebody or sitting across the boardroom table, things are going well, you turn to your counterpart, your Latin American counterpart, and give the OK sign, thinking one thing, and he thinks another, and either punches you in the nose or walks out of the room. It's the same with the thumbs up symbol. And there's an emoji for that, which, victory. Thumbs up is victory. Here, but in the Middle East, it means up yours. FedEx lost a lot of money in Spain where they assumed identical work habits. The Spanish people are very hard workers. I can attest to that. I lived there for a year. They stay up till midnight. They never sleep, it seems, except during the siesta. They take a 2 or 3 hour break in the afternoon. FedEx, in its operational planning, did not anticipate that. They didn't plan for it. They lost quite a bit of money until they adapted. Those of you who have been to Las Vegas are familiar with the MGM. You may not be familiar with the way it used to look. This is the original MGM Lion. And when it was built, MGM noticed a tremendous fall off of Asian customers who no longer visited the casino. And they found out why. They found out, after surveying these departed customers, that Asian customers did not want to enter the mouth of a lion. It was considered bad feng shui. And so this is what it looks like today. Now, I don't know what it costs to design this, and then to build this, and then to tear this down, and then to design this, and to build this, but quite a bit of money, all because of an unintended misinterpretation. You're familiar with the finger-looking good Kentucky Fried Chicken slogan. Well, in China, this is how it translated. Eat your fingers off. Everything had to be pulled back and repackaged. Some of you may remember the Got Milk campaign in America. It would begin, got milk, and there were, clever, funny ads. In Spain, it was assumed that the billboards were asking, are you lactating? Unintended misinterpretation. I want you to remember this, and it's also in our book. There is a difference between high context and low context culture. Now, all context refers to is what is going on around the communicators, such as relationships, social ritual, mutual trust. In a high context culture, these nonverbal elements are very important. In a low context culture, they're not important. So here are some examples of high context cultures: Latin America, Asia, the Middle East. In these cultures, people, even business people, get most of their information from social relationships, from social ritual, extreme courtesy. They can live with ambiguity and indirectness. We can't in our cultures. They consider an oral agreement more binding than a written one. We do not in our culture. For example, here in America, North America, or in Europe, we don't care that much about what is going on around us because we spell it all out in contracts. We value the written word. And that's why there are so many sign here, initial here, initial here, initial here, sign here, have a witness sign here, have a notary public sign here. Because we don't care about what's going on around us. All we care about is what is in black and white on the paper. Two different kinds of cultures. And there is something sweet about people and cultures who consider a handshake just as important as a contract. But we're not there. It's also important to remember that nonverbal communication styles can be offensive. Eye contact, looking somebody directly in the eye, is kind of a no-no in certain parts of the world because they assume that is an attempt to bully. We don't want to intrude upon their personal space. We would never put our arm around somebody as we might in an American workplace. I mean, a guy and a girl wouldn't do it, but a sales manager might put his arm around another salesman and say, go get him, tiger. That wouldn't happen in other parts of the world. And I've already talked about time. We treasure promptness, being on time, not so much over there. Here are some examples of unintended insults. If you cross your legs so that the sole of your shoe is visible to somebody else in Asia or in the Middle East, this can be interpreted as a major insult. In in those parts of the world, a firm handshake can be interpreted as an attempt to bully. Whereas in America, put her there, pal, and we expect a firm handshake, and men will, you'll hear their knuckles pop when they shake hands in America. We don't like the limp handshake, the limp the limp fish. And when somebody shakes hands with us in America, we expect them to let go. But in other parts of the world, holding hands with another man while you walk and talk is a sign of trust. I remember seeing videos of President Bush walking with the Saudi prince through the sand gardens, beautiful plants everywhere, and Bush is holding hands with his prince. I'm sure he was brief. He's a guy from West Texas. One of the criticisms of him was that he was macho. He was briefed. Mr. President, over there, men hold hands. Men also over there greet with hugs and kisses. And this is kind of interesting. My Indian students have showed me a head gesture, kind of a bobbing of side to side, which means yes. Whereas here in America, we interpret that side to side head gesture as no. Imagine negotiating with somebody and you ask, do we have a deal? And they shake their head side to side, meaning yes. We think it's no, and drop our price further. All right, that's it for this slide. I just wanted to entertain you a little bit. Remember the high context and low context differences. I'll ask you a question about that on the midterm quiz. More about that quiz later. Don't worry about it now. Well, that's it for now. I'll see you in the next screencast. Bye.